Jeff, can you hear me?
Yeah, Alex, what's going on, sir?
Hey, yeah. Did you get the link from
Yes, I didn't get his
Other
name.
Jeff.
Yep. He had a problem on page 11, 10,
Oh
and
wait,
19.
but can you join the webcast now?
I thought it was at
Yeah,
4 o'clock.
if he clicks on that link, he can join at
Four
any point.
4 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the UK.
Oh, my goodness. You mean, I thought it was 4 o'clock this time. All right. How long have y'all been on?
18 minutes waiting for you.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Maybe there's somewhere where I can go and sit down. I was out riding my bicycle, thinking all I gotta do is be back by 3. All right, let me figure out what I'm gonna do. All right, let me get back to you.
Okay, thanks. You click on the link in the message.
No problem.
All right, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Thanks. I've seen a bit. All right, that was funny. Here's so he's on his bike, and he said,
Amazing.
I thought it was 4 o'clock." And then, yeah, 4 o'clock in the UK. He says, "Oh, so he's gonna find a place right now." So he was telling me, he says, "Yeah, there's a couple problems with page 11 and 19." I'm like, "Okay, but we're, we're having our video conference." So that's funny. Okay, good. I'm glad I was able to contact him. Time zones. Everybody thinks the world's flat now because there's no time zones.
Oh, it's trying to work out. That's been a big thing for me during lockdown. Is that when getting guests on, it's trying to work out where they are because you can't. Yeah, it's we had Rob Price on, and he was in Germany, so there's a whole thing about we were saying 8 p.m. UK time was 10 p.m. his time, and then
Uh-huh.
we had a Bensky, who is Ben Cullis, who's the editor of the 77, but he'd invited his whole editorial team on the cast, even though we just invited him. He sent the share out to everybody involved in the 77, and
Oh my
which
god.
was hilarious because then all these random folks start popping into the waiting room, including Brendan Wright, who was in New Zealand. So it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. We're all fairly tiddly, and he clocks in. It's like 5 in the morning. He's just woke up to this big stream of messages. It was absolutely wild.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I work for a video conferencing company, and pretty much, and there's people all over. They're like their work hours are another country's work hours, so their work hours are like from 12 midnight
Yeah.
to 8 a.m. for them. Some ludicrous, but it's
Oh,
funny.
totally.
That's their work hours during the week. But on the weekend, they want to have a regular life, so they have to like do this crazy adjustment over the weekend to live their
Yeah.
regular life, and then come Monday, they have to have their gonzo schedule of
Oh, it's mad. As a teacher, I find it quite tricky just trying to navigate even just work. Cause I work from 8 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon every day, regardless. You know what I
mhm.
mean? And it's having a having my having friends that are just working like, oh, I'm like, you free next Tuesday? Here he is.
Hey, there he is. Can you hear us, Jeff? Oh, he's on his phone.
Yeah, we'll give him a couple of seconds to.
Let's see.
Yeah. Regardless of his camera's not really working. He's not connected. I think he's a way to find another spot.
Yeah,
Just
maybe.
we're just working 8 till 4 when no one else does. It's quite tricky sometimes. like asking friends who are on shift patterns and stuff, like what you doing next Saturday, and they're like, I don't really know. Yeah.
So you
Eh,
teach? Are you in the classroom now? Hey, oh, maybe that's better. See, Looks a little bit better, Jeff.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, this is crazy. Oh my God, this is like the Brew Gooders Bicycle Show.
That's amazing.
You're on your bike?
That's it.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, there might be signal issues. Well,
Yeah,
if he joins, if he can make it in, he can make it in.
I've talked the whole way through lockdown. What I'll do is I'll drop you out and I'll do a quick intro and I'll try and bring you both in. Does that sound all right? And then we'll go from there.
Sure.
Good. Well, it's afternoon. It's actually Saturday afternoon for me, but good evening or whenever it is you're watching this episode. It's Jeff. I'm really lucky to have two amazing comic creators. One who I'm laughing, right, because I can see in the bottom right hand corner of my screen, I have like a virtual green room, so I can see my guests waiting for me to bring them in. One of the guys is that Jeff, another Jeff, so it's the second Jeff in 2 weeks, so 3 Jeffs for the price of one. But Jeff's actually trying to get a decent signal. There's been a time difference confusion because both our guests are coming from the States, but as a result of that, Jeff is trying to find somewhere with a decent signal. So I'm currently watching him cycling as he's in the green room, which is my favourite thing I've ever seen. But yeah, I'm going to bring on our guests, as you can see back from the screen. We've got Alex DeLuca, who we've had on the show pre-COVID, and we just kept in touch. He's an amazing guy, and I'm really excited to have him back on and play the with us. We've also got Jeff Carroll, who's going to be talking about some of his projects as well. If he finds a decent place to park his bicycle. So I'll bring Alex in first. When my computer says go. Here we are.
Hey.
Good morning. Afternoon.
Good morning. Good afternoon, wherever you are. Jeff, always a pleasure. It's morning for me. So you got your beer. I got my coffee.
So you're in I remember that you're in sort of San Francisco area, aren't you? Just south of San Francisco.
I'm in south of San Francisco in a town called Sunnyvale, California. It's the west coast of the United States. Morning for us. And yep, it's a beautiful day. Enjoying my coffee. I'm inspired to have a beer. I will definitely have one later, but maybe a bit early.
Maybe. Where's Jeff joining us from once he joins us? Because I've seen palm trees and stuff like that. Some
Florida.
Really exotic foliage.
He's in Florida.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's in Florida. The only state in the contiguous United States that has tropical climate, except for Hawaii, of course, but that's not the contiguous. So yeah, you'll probably see palm trees and beautiful warm weather and
beautiful skies and a really stressed looking Jeff trying to find a decent Wi-Fi signal.
That's funny. Oh, Jeff, we're laughing with you.
We are. If Jeff, I can see you. I don't know if you can hear us. If you think you're ready, fire us a wee thumbs up, and we'll bring you in as soon as we can. But while we're waiting, thumb up immediately. Excellent,
all right,
cool. So yeah, please welcome our guest, Jeff Carroll.
How you doing, guys? So sorry I did not notice the time change on the regular time. It's Eastern Standard Time, which is 3 hours difference from Oakland for me. So it's still morning. It's 11:26 over here in the morning. I was getting my bike ride in. So I know there's a Starbucks ahead. So I'm going to pull to it. But I can actually hear you very well. There's probably some 5G tower right along here. So I can work with you until we get there. But I had all my stuff set up in my home office to show you pictures and stuff like that. So what I can do is after we tape, I can send you some of the pictures and the good lettering that Alex did on my Project Fingernails. So
hey Jeff, I can share too. I have my Adobe Illustrator application I can share. If there's any particular page you want me to share, you let me know. I can show you before the lettering, after the lettering. I can zoom in. You'll be able to see it.
Okay, that works.
All right.
I just sit and try to work out which bits I'm going to weave in because this is amazing.
I know. Isn't technology great?
Good thing I
I
can
love it.
ride with
I
no
love it, man.
hands, right?
So good.
Oh my gosh.
I love it. Okay, so elevator pitch time. Do you want to tell us who we are, who you guys are?
I'll go first. I'm Alex and DeLuca. I'm a comic book writer, a comic book letterer. Let's see, let me pull up my book here. I did a comic that came out just as the pandemic hit. It is called Dragon Whisperer. This is a trade paperback version of it that is just it's just a proof. It's a steampunk fantasy. I had a wonderful time doing it with a great artist, and it was published by Red 5 Comics out of Texas. And so that's me. I wrote the comic, I created it, I lettered it, but I also I letter a lot of comics, and I've been blessed to get a lot of lettering gigs. So I learned the craft of lettering from some great veterans, John Rochelle, and just a legendary comic book letterer. And so then I started letting people know I letter comics, and then I slowly got gigs, and then Jeff, he put out.
I'm on my interview. I got the time wrong.
Oh, he's probably telling someone else.
Sorry, I
I'm
have my
muted for a
mic
second,
muted.
Jeff.
I have my mic muted. So let me.
There you go.
There you go.
There you
Okay,
go,
good.
Jeff. Fire away.
My name is Jeff Carroll. I'm a science fiction writer first. I started off writing low budget horror films, and I progressed into writing horror books and science fiction books. And somewhere in between all of that, I started writing comic books. And since the quarantine, I have doubled and tripled the amount of comic books that I wrote because I saw Kickstarter as a potential, and my first Kickstarter made its budget back, and I was like, wow. And then I've just finished my third Kickstarter, and then Alex is working with me on my next project, my fourth Kickstarter. I do self-publish for now, although my second project, Planet Akibalon, is a space fantasy like John Carter or Sundar the Barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
It is my ode to Conan, right? Because I love Conan.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten some interest in that project. And this one that I have now was illustrated by a gentleman named Manuel Shu out of the Dominican Republic. And Fingernails looks like it's going to be real good. So anyway, that's who I am. Got a couple of movies, got a couple of books, and now I got a lot more comics.
And you're
Very
also
exciting.
an amazing cyclist, man.
I mean, he cycles and he video conferences all at once. That's multitasking. That's super tasking. I mean, that's like superhuman multitasking right there.
So am I right thinking you guys?
Myself, so you won't hear the cars and stuff like that.
Oh, no worries, man.
Okay.
So you guys have been working together on Fingernails, Alex?
Yeah. Well, there's I forget. There's so many Facebook groups that connect comic book creators. I forget which one Jeff used, but kind of the biggest one is connecting comic book writers. I forget what it's called, but it's very big.
You're right, as an artist. I think I'm on that one.
Yeah, that's right. You're on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was looking for a letterer, and then he put the feelers out, and I forget. I think another person that I lettered for referred me, and then I messaged Jeff, and Jeff, he's like a dream client because he answers you. Okay? He'll be back in a sec here.
I'm going to admit I removed him from the stream temporarily because I'm just watching the sky and the trees and that in the background as you're talking. I'm like, oh, I'm going to totally forget what you just said.
Yeah, you're getting distracted. I know. But I hope you can hear me say this. But he's kind of like a dream client because I said, "Hey, I letter. Here's my portfolio," and then he answers. I mean, he does the wonderful thing right away. He answers you. He says, "Hey, good stuff. What's your page rate?" I gave him my page rate, and he says, "Okay, you want to work together?" I said, "Absolutely. I do have a contract," and he said, "Send it over." Read the contract, sent it immediately back to me. No question on my page rate, and then they said, "Here's the terms of the contract." Zero friction. It was like flawless. He sends me all of the pages, and he sends me the script. And I said, "This is like, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop because this is like too easy. It's too good." He paid me my 50%. He gives me the script. He gives me the art. It's completely formatted. He's a pro. He's a complete pro. And so
taking a wee note, work with Jeff Carroll.
Take a note. Work with Jeff Carroll. He is an absolute pro. And so I like to work fast because it's fun and it's inspiring. So I started lettering his comic, and what I like to do, especially if all the art is done, I like to do the whole thing, everything, and then instead of sending him little bits, because if you do that, if you say here's page 1 and 2, you send it to him, and then in the meantime you're working on page 3, 4, 5, 6, and then he might say here's edits on page 1 and 2, and then he sends those to me, totally. and then you'll kind of get mucked up there. So what I like to do is I like to do the entire book, everything, and he's totally prepared. He has every single page of art and the entire script, and the edited script. So he sends that to me. And how comic book lettering works is if you use Adobe Illustrator like I do, you get the art, you put it into your template in Adobe Illustrator, and then you copy and paste from the script. You don't typically, a letterer is not going to be an editor. That's not the letterer's job. It's the letterer's job is to letter. You get the script, and then you get a professional level font. You formulate the script in an oval as much as, or whatever it calls for, and that's what you do. So then I lettered the entire book, and then I sent it to him, and then he does one mass read, one mass edit, in which he looks at every single page. He looks at every apostrophe, every word, everything, and then he sends me. And I put everything in a Dropbox. So he sends me the comments or whatever, however he wants to contact me, all of the edits. And it's like, and once again, there was no vagueness of what he wanted done. He knew exactly what needed to be changed. He said, page 7, panel 1, third balloon. I mean, boom. It's like, can I just work for you? I mean, it's like, I'll be your letterer forever. I mean, it's the kind of thing, he's not only a professional, he's so decent of a guy, and such a gentleman. So and then that was it. And then even
sort of makes the rest of us look bad though, doesn't it? Because I'm kind of cringing a wee bit when you're like, oh, and then like there's no vagueness to him. Like I think I'm quite vague as an editor when I've got my artist or my letterers doing things for me, and I'm just like, can you just change that page? And they're like, what bit of that page? I'm like, the bottom bit.
What do you mean? Well, no, I don't know. It's like the thing about Jeff is he knows what he wants. He has his vision but he's open to he's open to listening to ideas and creativity. But yeah, he knows exactly what he wants. He knows his vision. He understands his book, and his book is really good. um, he'll tell you about it much more. I had the privilege of reading, obviously I read the book, the first issue. It's it's an alternate take on. It's a very unique take on fantasy, science fiction, horror tropes that is really new, and it's very fresh, and it's very timely. And as I was doing this, I was thinking to myself, I'm really working on something special. I'm really working on something that's going to get noticed, and I just felt honored to work on it. It's it's something very timely. He'll be able to speak more to that. But it's it's something of a coming of age. It has a young character. It's a young woman, and she has an ability. She has a gift, but she's also a teenager living in modern times. So she has her struggles, but she also has her powers. But just she's a human being. She's like you and me. If you and I were in a situation in which we were confronted with some kind of danger, we'd probably piss our pants with fear. We would hope, we would hope we would do something about it. We would like to think. I mean, if I were by myself, I used to think I'm a black belt in run fu. I would run away. Not kung fu, run fu. I would run. But if it were in a situation in which I would have to protect my family, I would act differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure I would act differently.
Yeah,
I would
totally
do something different. So, but that's what a human being would do. I mean, we're not always going to be badasses. We're going to be human beings, and that's the beauty of his characters. They're like that, and they're funny. Great art, great writing. Very international. There's he mixes the locality of his fantasies, like a certain fantasy trope from one region of the world is being mixed with another region of the world, and that's
really smart. That's very cool. That's great.
That's the beauty of it. It's like every color under the sun is in his book. That's what I mean. I want him to talk about it. I'm dying to show you a page, but
well, we bring Jeff in. He's still doing a wee cycle, but we'll bring him in, and we'll get him to talk through a wee bit of the project if he's up for it, and then you can start showing pages.
Okay.
Jeff, you need to pay Alex to be your spokesman, like.
Did you hear all that?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was an entertainment agent for 20-something years, still counting. And I used to represent clients, Kevin Hart and Michael Blackson, some of these top comedians and poets. And I used to, hold on. I used to, he was on a little bike. I mean, one of them electric scooters or whatever. So anyway,
it sounded like a fart.
Talent like that. Oh no, yeah, fart bike, gas-powered scooter, I think it was. But I used to represent talent, and I used to have to write their bios. And I did all that stuff for them, and I learned how to write movies and then books and comics, and I never really thought about writing my own bio and press releases as being something that I had to learn how to do. But when I wrote my first movie, I went to, this was back in 2003. I went to Hollywood Video as video, and pick up the DVD cover.
Yeah, Jeff, you're breaking up too much. Yeah.
Okay, we'll give Jeff a couple of minutes to try and catch up. What have you been working on, Alex? What's because obviously Dragon Whisperer is awesome.
Thank you.
And it I think you wrote it in a way that it becomes relatively self-contained you could finish volume 1 and that'd be it. But what's happening next?
I am working on volume 2. It's 2 issues. 2 of 6 are completely done. How that works is I amass budget to pay the artist, because I want to be able to pay him down to the penny before I even consider calling him for an issue, because I don't want there to be any I can't pay you now, but can you make me a page? No, I'm gonna make sure he's got everything that he needs, because he's so good. So yes, I'm working on the next volume right now. My publisher's kind of like, how's that coming? How's that coming? I says, it's coming well. I might be at the point in which we could start releasing them, and then before like, it's going to be 6 issues and 2 of them are done. So maybe close to the end of the year, maybe around Christmas time or so, the holiday season, I can start releasing issue 1. But we'll see what the publisher says. I need to talk with my artist. So yes, I'm working on that. I'm working on lettering a couple other projects for a guy named Corey DellaGuardia, and he has 2 comics that I lettered. It's one's called Another Day at the Office, which is sort of like the law enforcement point of view in working in the superhero world, the meta-human world. But this police officer, it's a detective, sort of the hard-boiled detective. He's got the trench coat and a cigarette, and it's his point of view working in the superhero world. So it's kind of neat. There are definitely superheroes in this, but it's from the point of view of law enforcement. So it's a really fresh take on that. So that's called Another Day at the Office by Corey DellaGuardia. And then another comic that he's working on it's called DMA, Department of Meta-Human Affairs, and he calls it a cross between the X-Men and the West Wing. Because
cool.
Exactly, they're superhumans, but they're government sanctioned superhumans. So they're like the United States government sanctions superhumans to take care of issues, and it's also very relevant, and it's very cool. And he's also a dream client. He sends me the script, he sends me all of the art, and I do the work. I've been very blessed to work on that. So. And I get to see these things in their germinal phase before everybody else does. So I feel sort of privileged to be able to see these comics at the germinal phase. And I read this really good comic once. It's called The Spirit of Enki. And how's that one going? Tell us about your comic.
Well, I don't talk about my stuff on air, man.
Oh, come on, man.
I love hearing the whole. I actually just like hearing you talk about you pitching folk stuff. You're one of the best for people I know at doing the whole, like, you can take. And the only reason I mentioned this is because I was involved in a chat on a Facebook group earlier about the trickiness of writing pitches, and it's something I struggle with when you're trying to pitch, because within the sort of the idea of pitching your comic in 150 words, say, you have to try and get the whole point across, and the person that you're pitching to is maybe not necessarily bothered with things like the punchline being hidden from them. So obviously, like, if you're I've been writing pitches for short story anthologies recently, and I'm trying to get like the whole point across in 150 words without losing the subtlety, or without losing the impact of the punchline, and it's really, really tricky. And you're one of the people I look to when you're like, oh, so and so meets so and so, and you're like, yeah, straight away you're X-Men meets West Wing. And you're like, yeah, I want to read that comic book really, really easily.
Corey actually came up with that phrase. But that's a good thing. Writing the elevator pitch is an art. It is completely an art. I mean, because you have your comic in your head, and it's epic. You can say, tell me your comic book in 2 sentences. Well, what the I can't do that. I mean, it's hundreds of pages, but you got to do it, because when push comes to shove and you have to pitch it to somebody that will have the ability to present it to a bigger audience, you would need to make that 2 sentences, 3 sentences, a paragraph. You need to do it. So it is an art. There's an old quote. It's attributed to many people. But it's called "Sorry." It goes, "Sorry for the long letter. I didn't have time to write a short one." And it's kind of funny if you do that, because it's almost easier just to write, just to keep going, and just keep expressing. And if you have another idea, you write it down. If you wanted to tell someone, just like the way I talk a lot, and it's easier for me to talk a lot because I can just say, whatever comes to my head. But it takes effort, and it takes thinking, and it takes skill, and it takes really distillation. That's a good beer term too. Distillation, distillation of the essence of what you need to say. That is the that's the art in the pitch. So I have another comic. I'm going to pull it up from previews. I have another short story coming out from it's going to be Antarctic Press, who's probably they started in the early 80s, and they are the very first, the longest running, indies in the United States that's still around.
Oh, really? That's incredible.
Yes, and I'm really cool. I'm glad we talked about this. Okay, cool. So here we are. I'm going to share my screen. All right. This is something I could share.
Amazing.
All right. So you probably are looking at ourselves here. This guy right here, Horror Comics by Antarctic Press. So this is a horror anthology series. This is number 6. It's going to come out. Oh, now it's going to come out in June. It's going to come out next week. But hey. Okay. So Alex DeLuca and Richard Becker, it should be Becker there, tell the tale of, okay, can you see this word? I can kind of talk to the horse's mouth here, which is nice. Should I zoom in, or I'll put it in the chat? Can you see that word, Jeff?
You can do all the bits and pieces. So you can do the zoom in, you can do the. All right. You can do the moving around. You're just mirroring your screen basically. So.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell the tale of and I'm going to let you say that word, beautiful but deadly vampire women of the Scottish Highlands. Okay. So I know you're not Scottish, but do you see this word here?
I am Scottish. What are you talking about?
You are Scottish. So I'm talking to the horse's mouth.
Hold on. What did you think I was? Yeah, that is the Boban Sith.
Yeah,
I would say so. Boab is Bob, and then I think the H is silent. So Boban Sith is how that would be.
And do you
pronounced? I think, but then.
All right. So being Scottish, you should know what they are.
Should I? I can tell you what Nessie is, the Loch Ness Monster.
Yes. I know you can tell us.
You took us on a beautiful odyssey of your desktop there. That was lovely.
I know. Well,
so Scotland is insane. Yeah, I think the Boban Sith. I think straight me down if I'm wrong. That there's a Rabbie Burns, who's our sort of most famous poet and probably one of our most famous sons in Scotland. He's probably the closest thing Scotland has to a Shakespeare is Rabbie Burns, or Robert Burns, and he has a really well known poem called so well known that it's completely escaped me. It's about a guy that comes home that gets drunk one night, and on his way home he I'm gonna have to Google it just now. But when he goes home, he gets drunk, and he stumbles across a group of witches, warlocks, and I think like Boban Sith and demons and stuff having some sort of ritual in a graveyard. Yeah. And I'm quite annoyed that I can't quite remember what his poem's called. But
I'll look it up while you're doing that.
Yeah. I think the Bowman Sith are in there. They're like vampire ladies.
That's right. That's exactly right. Let's see. Robert Burns, Scotland's Most Haunted, Tam O'Shanter. Tam
O'Shanter. Jesus Christ, man. Sorry, I'm really sorry. I can't recall.
I'm gonna,
a massive part of my heritage there.
This is on video. It's an Italian American guy from California reminded a Scotsman, like the most important Scottish poem. You're shamed. I shamed you.
No, I am shamed. There's a really amazing comic that I must give a shout out to called the Lang Walk Home. The Lang Walk Home. That's clearly not very Scottish, but it's a sort of ode to Tam O'Shanter. It's a poem done in comic form about a guy desperate for a wee coming out of a pub in Glasgow. So he's just, it's just about this guy trying to find a toilet.
Wow, he couldn't find a convenient side of a building there. But yes, so the Bovan Sith, they're vampire women of the Highlands, and so it actually the germ of that idea started a long time ago, maybe 20 years ago, in which Richard Becker, the artist, he had a vampire anthology magazine, and what it was, a comic book anthology magazine for vampires, and what it was is he found any legend from anywhere in the world, and then he gave it to a writer. Says, "Hey, here's a vampire legend comic, and here's a vampire legend. Write a script, find an artist, and we can do it." And then, and he gave me a list of various legends. And maybe I just saw Highlander at the time, and I said, "Oh, I got to do the Scottish vampires. I mean, beautiful there we go, beautiful Scottish vampire women." And then I wrote the comic. So, but that comes out horror comic number 6 by an Arctic Press. All right, the man. So
on the subject of beautiful vampire women from Scotland, here is Jeff Carroll.
You probably been called worse than a vampire woman, Jeff.
How are you,
I'll
Jeff?
say this. The funny thing is, you had me at women. I don't care if it's Vampirella or Elvira or whoever. You had me at women. So yeah, I'm excited about all of what you did. I'm sorry that I wasn't stable to be a part of the conversation prior, but one thing, the internet is amazing. I've been able to hear everything you said, even though I might have been frozen. So
well, let's talk about your comic. Here's the thing, Jeff. Jeff, I have all the pages that I can pull up, and I can share whatever you want. So you let me know if there's a particular page. But tell us about Fingernails. I mean, I was telling the other Jeff that to me it's a very relevant and important comic that I think everybody should read, because their eyes will be open like mine were. So tell us about it.
I think for me, I can tell you my motives, right? And I can tell you my goals in terms of what my inspiration came from and what I want to get through with the project, because I believe every story has a message. I'm a writer, no apologies. I learned how to edit. I know how to do camera work on my films. I know a little dibbling and dabbling with Photoshop, enough to do like my ads and my business cards. But and I know some really cheesy lettering, which I sent Alex. I think I did the first 2 pages with my own Photoshop editing. But my main thing with Fingernails was my first science fiction book is a mix of science fiction and horror, and it's called Rebirth of Gargoyle. And it was about a gargoyle who was protecting his 16-year-old daughter in the community where gargoyles only have a mile radius that they protect. And nothing happens. He's got the most peaceful, crime-free projects in New York City, which is amazing, right? And lo and behold, his daughter goes missing, and he goes man on fire. to find her
Yeah.
from vampires or werewolves. And in the process, she learns that her father, who his daytime job is the superintendent, the groundskeeper of the apartment complex, is a gargoyle. And she learns that her mother was a gargoyle also who died from on behalf, while taking down some vampires. So um, I wanted to kind of give her stories as being the youngest human that was made into a gargoyle. And I still wanted her to be young. And I've written about 13 science fiction books since that. And I did not necessarily
Oh,
want to
wow.
write a young adult, but I wanted to write something for young people. And then the quarantine hit and it just sped everything up. So I quickly thought of one of my favorite ghost type stories, and that was Scooby Doo.
Mhm.
And I wanted to give fingernails that type of feel. Um, and what I did was I called it fingernails. I don't know how the name came to me. I can't remember, but one of the best things I feel I do is write name. I mean, think of names for stories and books and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And fingernails was so good of a title that I had to just do it. Thank you. My wife brought me my Gatorade. um, fang- fingernails became a girly thing. At the time I was a middle school teacher. Now I work in a high school. But when I'm as a middle school, you got all these little girls and boys learning how to be older people. And the girls were just getting their nails done and they didn't know how to live a protected life when your fingernails get painted. You got to be careful for a few days, or I mean, a little bit after you paint it. And I said, man, they make such a big deal. So that's going to be her problem. She's going to be uh, upset every time she turns into a gargoyle because it's going to mess her fingernails up. And that's going to be her obsession. Oh my God, you made me turn into a gargoyle. Now I got to get my fingernails polished again. So that is going to be her thing. And and in the book, Thug Angel, she has her friend Mercedes, who's a Latina, and she just is, into boys, and that's what gets her caught by the vampires and werewolves in the first place.
You want to share a page?
Oh, sure. Can you share the first and second page, and I can kind of introduce the characters or whatever?
Absolutely.
Oh, incredible.
You guys talk, and I'll pull up
So,
page 1 and 2.
yeah, what stage there? So, what's the sort of release schedule like on it? How close is it all coming to fruition?
Well, I am like a stand-up comedian because I worked with them for so long that I picked up a lot of their characteristics. I love jokes and I love writing them, but the best part of a joke is hearing people laugh from it, hearing people's response. So I have been sitting on this comic book for a year now because I wrote it last May, gave it to the illustrator in June, and I got it edited, gave it to the illustrator, and he caught COVID and
Oh
he
no.
lost his
Yeah.
apartment. He had such a miserable time in the Dominican Republic that it took him about 8 months to get back to start getting me pages. And I don't know how y'all feel or how you can imagine that feels as a as a writer or as a project creator, but oh my God. And he did
Yeah,
5 or 6 pages
unbelievable. Yeah.
for me. So yes, this is her room. This is her name is Nzinga. They call her Annie for short. This is her room. In there you'll see she's a nerd girl. She's got a poster of Storm on the wall, and she's got
Oh, amazing.
her cat. Her cat is named Kimmy. Her father is a gargoyle that's over 3,000 years old, and he was born in ancient Egypt. So can you imagine being raised by somebody that saw the pyramids get built? That's who her father is. And
Yeah.
Kimmy is a black cat, and Kim means black in Kemetic language. So they call Kemet Kemet because Kemet means black. So it means land
Yeah.
of the black or whatever it is. And so I just named him Kimmy because she would name him Black Cat. So it's Black Cat
Yeah.
in bootleg Egyptian.
Here's page 2.
That's cool, man.
So so if he goes to page 2, you'll meet her Latina friend, Mercedes. Mercedes is like a wannabe witch. She's so into paranormal stuff. When she found out that her friend is a gargoyle and she's now immortal, she's so excited and happy herself. So together they are two, well, three of the components because Annie can talk to her cat. And the funny thing is, her cat is a male cat, and I happen to have a cat now in my life. And I know how my wife loves and talks about the cat. It's like she can talk to the cat. So we give the cat a persona. So I gave Kim that opportunity. And in the story, you may even be able to zoom in on some of the script. But Kimmy and Mercedes have a back and forth. He teases her for not being able to find a man and being a problem why she doesn't have a man. And she teases him for having too many girlfriends and chasing around alley cats. So they have a real interesting relationship. And I like that. You know, I wanted to bring that out. Of course, I'm not a girl. I've never been one. But I'm fascinated by how adolescent girls talk to each other, how they snap at each other, and how they just respond and still remain friends. Boys don't do that. Boys snap at each other and then they start fighting. And it really was over nothing. So
Right.
there's another character in here. Maybe you could pull up the last page,
Yeah.
Alex.
Just reading all the file names of Alex's computer.
Um, in, in
Yeah.
my first comic, I did
wow.
This one here.
okay, yes. In my first comic, I did a 3-page prequel to Fingernails as I was, learning how to write the story. And her main partner, is a ghost, and the ghost is actually scared of ghosts. So that's funny in itself. And if you see in there, the artist colored her green, and you don't normally see ghosts as green. You see them as gray, sometimes even maybe a blue. I wanted to use green because when I looked at Egyptian hieroglyphs in the paintings, they always had the dead spirit as a green person. So I said, wow, let's make the
Well,
ghost green. And that's where her green color came from. Anyway, Annie and the ghost name is Savannah met in school at Annie's school. And what happened was kids and teachers in the school started acting different. And I mean, totally uncharacteristic. A small kid beats up a big kid, a teacher that's mean in the classroom starts making jokes, and Annie and Mercedes can't figure out what's going on. So Annie can see spirits. So she sees a spirit leave the teacher, and the spirit goes down the hallway, and she follows it, and the spirit turns and says, "You can see me?" And he says, "Yes." And then the spirit jumps in her body and makes her turn into a gargoyle. And she said, "Oh my God, you can control my wings." And they become friends with each other just because they're, learning about who each other are. And it's Savannah that says, "Oh my God, you're like one of the first people that I know that's not scared of ghosts." And she says, "Why would I be scared of ghosts?" And they develop, and then she complains about her fingernails, and Savannah says, "Oh my God, you have fangs, fang nails. We should call it
yeah.
fingernails, and we should go, do some paranormal investigations." And so that's how it becomes a thing. And
It's
so
really
from there,
That's outstanding.
it's such a
yes,
joy to letter this, and it was such a joy to read it while lettering it.
so I
How
wanted to
as
be
as an educator, Jeff, how
yes, yes, yes.
sorry, Jeff, as an educator, how hard did you find it trying to get the voice right? I'm writing a short story at the moment about two teenage boys having an argument, and it's something I see every day. As a teacher, it's something I see every day as well, and I'm just trying to get my head around getting the voice right, because obviously you don't want to be, I don't know, you don't want to be reading it and thinking this isn't two boys arguing. This is a man in his 30s voicing two boys, if that makes sense, you know. So
Yeah.
how did you find that as trying to voice young women?
Well, my first time in a comedy course, and I have to go back to stand-up comedy, right? Set up, premise, punchline. I took a course with Tracy Morgan, and we both came in at the same time, right? And you know Tracy Morgan, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We did an exercise where we would observe two people talking to each other from afar, and we would make up what they were talking about. And the comedians actually did this on stage at the Uptown Comedy Club. And that's something that I still do with my around with people, because it's funny when you're all these people talking to each other, joke about what they're talking about. That's one skill that I employ. Then also, for me, I learned how to say New York expressions. I'm from New York. I'm from New Jersey, about 10 miles away. My parents met in Harlem, and I used to vacation in New York on the summers, all through middle school and high school. And but I've been living down here in Florida for 20 years. I still sound like a New Yorker to people down here, but in New York, I sound something different, right? And so to get my sayings, like not for nothing, but for whatever, see what I'm saying? All these little New York sayings, I had to call my niece, um, um, who's in her 20s, and she's still, she's so New York, she couldn't tell you anything else, and she gets it all correct. So I just had to talk to her every time I wanted to get a little saying. I actually even read the script. Oh, I see your cat, Jeff.
Sorry, man.
No, that's cool.
Beautiful.
So that's pretty much, to answer your question, how I did it. I actually knew what I wanted him to say, but I did not know how I was saying it was going to be the best. So I called my niece and I tried it out. And I tell writers all the time, don't be afraid to do that, because people are actually going to read your story anyway. If it's a movie, they're going to watch it, or if it's an audiobook, they're going to listen to it. So try it out. And people, sometimes you're scared to tell people your story because people are going to run away with it, or they're going to tell somebody. These are the same people that will buy it.
Yeah.
I found that when I talk to people about my stories, it makes them more interested in the story. So, yeah, that's about it.
And when I lettered it, because the script, I have to share again. The script was really easy to work with. So I actually, because all I saw was art and I saw a script, but when I read the script and I saw the art, something of their voice started talking in my head. So that's why I did sort of different balloons. So this is Savannah's balloon. Savannah's a ghost, so I decided to go disembodied balloon. Okay,
Yeah.
but you know it's Savannah. It's got white font with that. Now, because Annie's the main character, I decided to go traditional with her. An all cap typical comic book font and a regular balloon. She's the main character, so she's got to stand out. But the cat Kem, I decided, he's a cat, so he's probably got this understated, subtle, sort of borderline snarky, but he is snarky. You got to hear how he talks. But sort of a subtle kind of thing. Like, he never has to yell. He's too smart. He because he gets his point across. So I made him sort of a little bit of a wobblier balloon, like, you know, he's purring as he's talking, and I did lowercase. So, you know, you play around. There's other characters in the comic that I use different font and different types of balloon to get them their own sort of voice, which was really easy to do the way that Jeff wrote it.
Yeah, actually, I think that really important. Sorry, I was just unmuting you. Sorry, Jeff, you were muted for a second there. That's you back on
no problem. The other thing that this story represents is kind of, I didn't even pitch it. All right, so let me tell you the story in this first issue. This first issue is called The Case of the Leprechaun's Gold. And I went with, you know, the similar titles to Scooby-Doo. As you know, it's different enough because from Scooby-Doo, because Scooby-Doo, there were people impersonating and masquerading as paranormal characters. Rarely did Scooby-Doo ever find a ghost. So in my ghost story, they are finding characters, but they may not be the actual ghost, or they may not be what they want. So in this first story, I bring together the Twa Man, which is actually my comic that just finished, and he is my play on the Irish legend of the Leprechaun. And the Twa Man is more than what you see in Fingernails. You just meet him there. But he's a black leprechaun, and he has the ability to teleport to another place called Planet Akibulan. And so in that, just the short description, I bring together three of my different comic books. First, Fingernails, which is about Annie. My second Kickstarter was my space fantasy called Planet Akibulan. And that's where the Twa Man is. So now he goes to Planet Akibulan, and his comic book is about him being a leprechaun who is very much like Doctor Strange. And so I bring together three of my properties, and it was so much fun because they were able to work together. Annie was able to do an investigation. He has such a relationship. I gave him a relationship to sort of black people and to humans on Earth that was really interesting. So when you see it, you'll see that, and his gold represents something different than what we see in the Leprechaun legend. So I got a chance to do some really good, as I say in my science fiction stories, really good lying. Because as a writer,
you want to show the Leprechaun page?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, let me see if you can pull up maybe the page where they are fighting.
I got it. I found it. That's the one. That's a good one. All right. It's a really good page.
Yeah.
I want to run by you what to share because I don't want to give everything away. So.
Yeah. I mean, even if you don't do the dialogue, and the other thing I tried to do with this comic book was make it so you could almost read it without the words, because I think in comic books you have the ability to have pictures help your story move. And if you don't use that, you are losing a lot.
Yeah.
So you'll see the leprechaun there. He's
with
fighting
dreadlocks.
Annie. You gotta have that. You have all that good stuff. Yes, it is hitting him. And see him teleport to that spiral teleportation, and he die. He's kind of he's just upset. So he's just going through in this.
Yeah, I think you're breaking up a bit too much, Jeff.
I think we do.
Oh, waking up? I haven't moved.
Yeah,
Maybe it's because
Yeah,
I
we're
yeah.
back
did
on.
do something.
Yeah, I expected
Okay.
the Wi-Fi to do too much, maybe. Oh, lost you. Oh, lost you. Uh, what's It's a wonder there's a pre-recording, Alex, because this is gonna look smooth as anything. There, Jeff, you're back with us.
Yeah. Oh, good, good. All right. I think maybe my project's sent. Did you get something
Right,
from me,
that's
Alex,
okay.
in the chat?
Um,
I mean, in the message.
You
can
want to
you
share something?
Okay.
yeah,
So anyway, that's kind of where it is. I have a thing called the Holoverse. My first movie was called Holla If I Kill You, and I wanted to bring all my characters into a universe. So I
yeah.
called it Holoverse, and this is really the first book that brings together characters from some of our other stories. So it's the first Holoverse book.
That's really
Were you
exciting.
able to get that?
Yeah, yeah. Here, that's it. That's really exciting.
Do you have any
That
links you want to share, Jeff? Carroll?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, I was going to say I'm going to have to
Um,
probably call it quits now. It's venturing into in dinner time here. I've got father duties to do. But before I let you go, guys, do you want to tell me where anybody that's interested in or excited about what you guys are talking about can find more links and find more media?
Oh man,
That's okay. I think
I'll get it. I'll get it to you after, so you can edit it in.
yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Cool, cool.
Okay.
Okay then. Well, we'll call it quits just now then, man, and I'll speak to you later.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
No, anytime, Alex. Anytime, pal.
All right. Bye.